Security forces in Syria flooded into the city of Dara today, ripping down anti-government signs, according to one eyewitness, turning water cannons on protesters, firing shots in the air. This is new video from YouTube, reportedly shot on Friday in Dara. Syrian government's blaming deadly violence on everything from an unnamed foreign group to armed gangs of thugs. But multiple witnesses say government forces are behind the attacks. In a possible move to appease protesters, the Syrian government announced over the weekend that it'll lift a state of emergency law that's been in effect for 48 years. The law gives the government sweeping authority. They can make arrests whenever they want and prevents detainees from having a lawyer present during interrogations. There's no timetable for that emergency law being lifted, and many see it as a trick, saying other laws give power to the secret police and that something even more draconian could replace it. A UN spokesman says at least 37 people have died in clashes between protesters and security forces since last week. Earlier today, I spoke on the phone with Wissam Tarif, a human rights activist in Syria, who not only has agreed to speak with us, but also insists again that we use his name. Once again, we can't independently confirm what he's telling us, as Syria has repeatedly denied CNN entrance into the country. Here's what he said today. So the army has been deployed on the streets. How scared are people? I mean, are people still willing to come out and protest?
Well, what happened is much worse, because 2 nights ago the security forces in civilian clothes invaded the city. They targeted specific neighborhoods, tried to incite sectarian feeling and fear between neighborhoods in Latakia and in other areas.
And you've seen videos of security forces changing clothes and attacking people, yes?
Oh, yes, of course, everyone. In particular, this happened in Damascus and in Latakia. And there are videos of the security forces changing clothes and just beating people to death in Damascus, as they send security forces acting as thugs, and they have been beating people to death, This has happened in Duma. 4 people were beaten to death in Duma. If they are talking about reform and the change in the country, why don't they allow us? Why don't they allow Syrian human rights groups, international human rights groups with credibility and long history in doing the job, to access these cities and to do some serious work? I think if they are serious about this, they would allow us to work normally. Instead, they detained 5 human rights lawyers in the last 48 hours. 5. It's getting worse here. It's not getting better, Anderson.
I have to ask you this again. I asked you the first time I spoke to us. You want us to use your name. You tell us 5 people you know, 5 human rights activists have been arrested just in the last 48 hours. Why are you so insistent on talking and getting the word out?
All of those are human rights defenders. I owe them the minimum at this time, while they are not able to do the job. Others have to do it. It's myself, and it's a lot of people are doing it. It's normal. There is an element of risk. It's a calculated risk, but we have to do it. We're uprising. We're changing. We're witnessing history. History is happening in the Arab region. History is happening in Syria. We want freedom. We want to build a democratic country. We want to express ourselves. We want dignity. We want to be able to say what we think. This is the minimum. We are in the 21st century, and they are running the country as if we are in the 18th century or even in the Middle Ages. This has to change, and it is my job and my colleagues' job and people who can and who had the opportunity to study, to travel, to see the world, to do this. Otherwise, who will do it?
I'm stunned by your courage, and I thank you for talking to us, and please be careful.
Thank you, Anderson.
Incredible bravery. One note about covering the story. We've been mentioning that CNN has been applying for visas to go to Syria for more than a week now. Those requests have been repeatedly denied, and now the Syrian embassy isn't even responding to our requests. You've got your side of the story. Show us the evidence that armed thugs are responsible for the violence. Let us in the country. Let us see for ourselves.